The beam of light cut through the fog, a futile attempt to ward off the encroaching darkness. I stood alone in the lighthouse tower, my eyes fixed on the churning sea below. The Flannan Isles stretched out before me, a desolate landscape of jagged rocks and whispered secrets. I was the last keeper, tasked with maintaining the light that had failed my predecessors. It had been 3 months since I arrived on this god-forsaken rock, replacing the crew that had vanished without a trace. Their disappearance in 1900 had become the stuff of legend, a mystery that had haunted these isles for over a century. Now, as I gazed out at the relentless waves, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was about to uncover the truth, whether I wanted to or not. The wind howled, carrying with it the faint sound of voices. I shook my head, trying to clear my mind. It was just the isolation playing tricks on me, I told myself. But as the days wore on, the voices grew louder, more insistent. They called to me from the rocks, from the sea, from the very walls of the lighthouse itself. One stormy night, as I made my routine check of the light, I noticed something out of place. A logbook, ancient and weathered, lay open on the floor. I was certain it hadn't been there before. With trembling hands, I picked it up, my eyes widening as I read the last entry. December 15th, 1900. They're coming. God help us all. The handwriting matched that of Thomas Marshall, one of the keepers who had vanished. But how could this be? The logbook had been thoroughly examined during the investigation. This entry shouldn't exist. As I flipped through the pages, a chill ran down my spine. The entries became increasingly frantic, describing strange lights in the sea, unexplained noises in the night, and shadowy figures lurking just out of sight. The final pages were filled with desperate pleas for help and incoherent ramblings about them coming to claim what was rightfully theirs. I slammed the book shut, my heart racing. This had to be some kind of sick joke. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. The air in the lighthouse felt heavier, charged with an otherworldly energy. I rushed to the radio, desperate to call for help, but all I got was static. That night, I barricaded myself in my quarters, the logbook clutched to my chest. Sleep eluded me as the storm raged outside. In the flashes of lightning, I could have sworn I saw faces pressed against the windows, faces that shouldn't be there, not this high up in the tower. As dawn broke, I emerged from my room, exhausted and on edge. The lighthouse seemed different somehow, older, more sinister. I made my way to the lantern room, determined to keep the light burning no matter what. But as I reached the top of the stairs, I froze. The massive lens was shattered, shards of glass scattered across the floor, and there, etched into the wall in jagged, desperate strokes, were the words, "We never left." My mind reeled. This couldn't be happening. I stumbled backward, nearly falling down the spiral staircase. I had to get out, had to escape this madness. But as I reached the bottom, I realized with growing horror that the door was gone. Where it had once stood was now solid stone, as if the lighthouse had swallowed its own entrance. Panic set in as I clawed at the walls, searching for a way out. That's when I heard it. The sound of footsteps, slow and deliberate, coming from above. They echoed through the tower, growing louder with each passing second. I pressed myself against the wall, my breath coming in ragged gasps. The footsteps stopped, and for a moment, all was silent. Then, a voice, rough and ancient, yet terrifyingly familiar, whispered in my ear, "Welcome to eternity, Keeper." The lantern flared to life above me, brighter than ever before. But instead of piercing the darkness, it seemed to draw it in, pulling shadows from every corner of the isle. As the light engulfed me, I understood at last. The Flannan Isles lighthouse had never needed a keeper. It had only ever wanted prisoners. They say the light still shines on clear nights, a warning to those who venture too close. But those who know the truth understand it for what it really is, a beacon not of safety, but of doom. For in that lonely tower, trapped between worlds, The keepers of Flannan Isles stand their eternal vigil, forever bound to the light they once tended. And sometimes, on the darkest of nights, when the wind carries the sound of desperate cries across the waves, sailors swear they can see faces in the lighthouse windows. Faces of men long dead, silently pleading for a release that will never come.